One of those touring the fairgrounds here in Syracuse today was Rick Lazio, the Republican candidate for governor, the endorsed Republican candidate for governor, as Conservative Party candidate. You came here for a specific purpose, dating back to 10 years ago when you were running against Hillary Clinton, and you made the faux pas of faux pas, which was to say that you were so-so on sausage, which has become this iconic political event here. And you say you've become wiser.
Penance, 10 years of penance, a very serious matter, and I had the sausage.
That's right.
And it was good.
Let's move from sausage to chicken.
Yeah.
Which at least one of your opponents is citing as indicative of your campaign. You've strayed away from what would be the normal course, which would be some debates with a primary opponent. Why?
Well, we're going to debate Andrew Cuomo, I expect, and you know, I've debated numerous times in my career, as most of your viewers will know. And the real issue, I believe, is the main event in November. I think that's a pivotal election for the people of New York. We'll either stay on the path that we're on, which is a path of more fiscal instability, more jobs and people leaving this state, higher taxes, reckless spending, lots of corruption, lots of scandals, or move in the direction of hiring somebody for governor who comes from outside the Albany establishment, who will wrestle spending down to the ground, balance budgets, lower taxes, restore jobs, and restore some integrity to government. And I've done this before. That's why I ask people to believe it.
Now, the initial word from your campaign was that there could be no debate between now and September 14th because of scheduling issues. Now, you and I both know that that's probably a stretch. Is it a case where you just don't want to give Mr. Palladino a forum?
I would say, again, my focus is completely
No, I understand what your focus is on Cuomo, but I'm just saying in this particular case, strategically,
yeah.
Is it a case where I'm the nominee, therefore if I give this other guy a chance to debate me, it simply gives more credence to his campaign?
I think it's important strategically, honestly, for the campaign to stay focused on a head-to-head with Andrew Cuomo, because that's the decision that people are going to have to make. I mean, yes, we've had numerous months of being out there on the field talking to Republicans and conservatives preceding the convention. People made their case. It was a four-person convention field, and I came out with 60% of the vote on the Republican convention and won the conservative convention overwhelmingly. So there has been a vetting process. People have answered questions. They have been pushed and prodded, and we have our positions out there, and people want to know more about where I stand. They can go on www.lazio.com and find out more. So we've had a process, and I've come out overwhelmingly as the favorite of both parties. Now it's time for the general election, and I want people to be focused on that decision because it's very, very important.
We spoke earlier today about your position on the World Trade Center and the Islamic Center there. There's been so much discussion of this in recent weeks, and it's an issue that doesn't have anything to do with jobs, the economy of upstate New York or New York City. How has this suddenly become the center of this campaign?
Well, I wouldn't say it is the center of the campaign. I would say it's an issue in the campaign because it speaks to public safety. It speaks to the fact that New York continues to be the epicenter of terrorist risk in America. People go all over the country to try and recruit other terrorists or to get bomb-making supplies, and they come back to New York to kill as many New Yorkers as possible. That's what their intention is. So it's very important as governor that the governor set the tone and demand the fact that we be protected against any and all risk, particularly terrorist risk. But beyond that, obviously, jobs. I mean, today on the fair, the thing on people's minds are really, jobs, taxes, jobs, spending. They love what I'm saying about this. They know the taxes, the higher taxes, the fewer the business, the fewer the businesses, the fewer the jobs.
But you've been talking about the mosque now for weeks, months, and a couple of months at least, and trying to be the spearhead of this campaign. The governor said today that he thinks things maybe have gotten out of hand. We had the recent attack on a cabbie in New York simply because he identified himself as being Muslim. Is there a danger here that in the midst of this political campaign, in the midst of this debate, that we're allowing too much rhetoric and too much emotion to grow around this issue and perhaps it's time to ratchet things down a bit.
Yeah, I think things should be factual. I think people should make some of these decisions on their own. To me, the imam who wants to build it and comparing the U.S. unfavorably to Al-Qaeda, dodging the question as to whether Hamas is a terrorist organization, saying that Osama bin Laden was created in the USA. And by the way, people can go online, they can Google it, they can get the information themselves. They shouldn't just listen to what I have to say. That's not there. There are millions of good, peace-loving, patriotic Muslims in America. Millions of them. There are 600,000 in New York City. He's just not one of them. And I think it's important that we determine, where is this money coming from? Is it coming from foreign governments? Is it coming from radical organizations? And that's why I've asked the Attorney General, Andrew Cuomo, who's got jurisdiction over registered charities, if he would have been doing his job from the start to sort of open up the books, I think we would have had a lot less controversy.
But you asked that question, and you've been asking that question. It's out there. To keep repeating it at a time when we're seeing these tensions rise, I'm just wondering where the political mathematics are superseded by concern over how far this debate could reach. And it's being reported not just as a problem here in the U.S., but also beginning to affect the views of the United States overseas. Is there a time to say, I put the question out, maybe now it's the time to step back and just, the question's been asked?
Yeah, if I thought that things were moving in a direction where people were compromising and they were looking for alternatives, I would maybe buy into your argument. But right now, all we've seen is defiance on the part of the people who want to develop this mosque at Ground Zero. Governor Patterson has went to them, among other people, to say, can we offer you a suggested other alternative, and they've gotten the straight arm. This is more of a political statement on the part of the developers than a religious statement, make no doubt about it. And I think the people of New York want leaders who stand up and speak their mind and make sure that they get protected. Make sure that we're going to drive down taxes and spending. They don't want somebody that wimps out because there's a little pressure or controversy. I don't want to see anything spiral out of control. Everywhere I go and I talk about this, I talk about the fact that overwhelmingly the Muslims living in New York and America are good people. There's 100 mosques in New York City. There's 2,000 mosques in America. Nobody wants to put a cap on mosques. Nobody's saying that people shouldn't have a place to pray. This is not in a residential area. I'm saying about this mosque and this imam. It's one situation.
Just one final question on this. And just so I have this straight, if there were another imam involved who did not have the background of this particular man, putting that mosque in that location would be okay?
I think it'd be an entirely different situation. I think there are two questions here. One is the sensitivity to the families of the victims of 9/11 and the proximity to Ground Zero. And after all, this is so close to Ground Zero that the building that's there right now is damaged by the landing gear of one of the planes that attacked the Twin Towers. And the second question is, where is this money coming from? And so those are the two issues I've raised. I mean, I wear this I got a few days ago from one of the family members of a firefighter who was lost in 9/11. Said, would you please wear this because you are our voice? And I do feel a responsibility for making sure that we get a proper result here.
And just final question, that is, we've obviously seen polling done as this campaign has gone on. There doesn't seem to be a lot of movement. When do you need to see the numbers begin to break in this 30 to 35% lead that Mr. Cuomo has held since earlier this year?
Yeah, I think that the reasons why he has a lead, incumbency, insider status, name recognition, are all going to be a negative by the time the election comes along. I think nobody wants another 4 years like the last 4 years. I think they know that Andrew Cuomo's Albany is a government that has fundamentally failed on jobs, on spending, and on taxes, and they want to turn the corner. See me in October if you want to talk about polls. Right now, my poll is out here in the fair and talking to people, and I say I am very happy with what I've heard.
Rick Lazio, thank you for joining us.
Great to be on.
Okay.